Arsenal go top of the league with a win at Brentford, and the pressure was on after the result at the Etihad. A 1-1 draw between City and Liverpool meant Arsenal winning at Brentford go to the top, and it feels great, Graham. It's been a while since we've been able to say that. Been a while since we've been able to actually talk about Arsenal leading the Premier League and just finding themselves in a position where we're not even at our best, but here we are at the top of the pile with levels still to go. And I think we've got to break down the good, the bad and the ugly in what was ultimately a massive 3 points.
Yeah, I think Arsenal won a hard-fought match on Saturday, James. I think it was never going to be easy to beat Brentford. They have got a really good home record. Their record against the top six actually is exceptional. I think the only top six side to beat Brentford in the last 2 seasons is Arsenal both times.
Yeah,
and that's how hard they are to beat at home. I think Arteta recognised that in his post-match press conference. And I think the team would have been well aware of that. And it took, in the end, as you say, Kai Havertz to come off the bench to give Arsenal the winning goal to send us to the top of the league for the first time this season. Mm-hmm. Could this be a season-changing moment for Kai Havertz? So you saw afterwards, James, Arteta took Havertz to the crowd at the end. As much, I think, for himself as much as for Havertz, he really wants this to move to work. And I think the big thing on Saturday was this was a game for Havertz. Yeah. If ever there was a game for Havertz, this was it. You know, the way Brentford were defending in a 5-3-2, he came off the bench, and I think finding that half space, which we're going to talk about today, to deliver in a good cross, his height, I think, in the end, won us the game.
Yeah, I completely agree. And have Arsenal stumbled on, or actually that's not fair on Arteta, but have Arsenal found a plan B, or are we as fans understanding that there is a plan B to Arsenal? We'll break that down a little bit later in the show. I want your take very quickly on the starting 11 and Leandro Trossard, because on paper, Ødegaard, Rice, Trossard, I love it. And I think if you give them another 20 Premier League games, they will find a rhythm and they will click. But I did feel that this was more an on-paper thing than a practicality thing. And actually, Ødegaard, Trossard struggled a little bit in the game. Trossard a little bit better, especially when he moved out to the left. But it wasn't a midfield three that flowed in the way we hoped it would.
No, and I think he's still very much searching for the right balance in those areas, James, in that number 8 area on the left. You could also argue on the right on this day, although Ødegaard has got that right-sided number 8 position nailed down, in my opinion. It looked great on paper, didn't it? It looked more attacking. And I think that's the thing that we liked. Rice back in the number 6. I know he can play number 8 and he's been brilliant at number 8, but he prefers playing at 6. Ødegaard and Trossard, we've been calling out for this sort of shape, attacking sort of structure, where players can move and are comfortable in each other's positions. And I think that's what we got on Saturday. Mm-hmm. It took a long time to work. Probably didn't work as well as what we would have hoped. But as you say, give this time, I think this is a very good shape for us.
Yeah, agreed. Let's go to the match stats, and there's a lot to digest here. Now, of course, Arsenal had 15 shots to Brentford's 9. That always reads well. 4 shots on target to their 1. 63% of the ball, actually round up to 64. 420 passes and an XG of 1.57 to their 1.25. Now, we've got to talk about that 1.25 just for a second. It suggests Brentford created in this game. And we're going to actually give credit to Brentford in just a sec, but they didn't. Like, I think that stat is a disservice to Saliba, Gabriel, Rice. I thought Zinchenko, brilliant. We'll talk about him. Tomiyasu. They really had things nailed down defensively. And it wasn't until our errors that actually Brentford, with 2 basic clearances off the line, racked up that XG. It came from our errors. They didn't do too much. They forced them. And again, we'll break that down in a sec. But we defended really well.
I thought we defended really well. And the solidity in this team now, this was our 14th clean sheet away from home.
Yeah, fantastic.
Since the start of last season, better than any other team in the Premier League, 9 better than Man United. One thing Arteta has done, sorry, not 9 better than Man United. Man United had 9 clean sheets. That's 5 better than the second best team, Man United. But what Arteta has now is this wonderful spine of Saliba, Gabriel and Rice. Yeah. 3 real top quality off the ball players, defensively strong players. So, and I think, as you say, their XG really was magnified by the fact our 2 errors. The error that Ramsdale made in the first half, Opta had that at more than a 40% chance of a goal. Yeah. And in the second half, when Zinchenko made the error, although he redeemed himself by getting off the line, that was a 43% chance of a goal according to Opta. So their XG would have increased as a result of our errors. And I think this was very much Brentford's game plan. We're going to talk about how well they pressed us today and tried to nullify us in build-up, but they were waiting for, I think, an error to sort of score. That was their main tactic, I thought, in the game.
Yeah, agreed. And look, they did some good stuff. Let's just go through the attacking stats quickly. We had 49 final third entries to 35. way higher on deep touches, 33 zone 14 touches, 75% field tilt for Arsenal. But it's these defensive stats we want to break down in our first bit of analysis because, okay, they outdid us with tackles, interceptions, clearances, that's expected. What wasn't expected was that their passes per defensive action of 8.5 would be so close to our 7.2. And you've given me some great context around that the 8.5 passes per defensive action is the third highest that Arsenal have faced this season. That means they got on our face. They didn't let us do too much with the ball before they engaged. And actually this that you sent as well. In build-up, Arsenal completed just 76% of passes in their own half and were forced to go long 17% of the time. So they really did try and disrupt us. And actually with these 11s, we tried to just break down how that looked. And what we've got the positioning in just a sec here of all the players as Ramsdale makes the error. Let's just wait 1 sec for him to get the ball. There it is. Right. Oh, there we go. Typical. I knew I'd get that wrong. I knew I would get that wrong. Let's try one more time. Forgive me. Over they come. And we're just going to try and pause it as Ramsdale gets the ball. Yes, I did it. Okay. Perfect. Now we can talk about it. Break it down for us, Graham.
Yeah, I think they had a clear plan here. I think they would have known that Aaron Ramsdale coming back into the team was something they would look to exploit because they would have felt he would be a little bit nervous. Obviously, the fans gave him a lot of stick on Saturday. I know he rebels in that, he loves all that, but he would have been nervous. There's no doubt about it. It was a big game for him, and I think they looked to exploit Ramsdale's nervousness. I think in these sort of situations, Arsenal are still going to try and play pretty much in build-up the way Arteta wants us to play. Although I did notice second half, after what was going on first half, Ramsdale was kicking longer more. Yeah. But as you can see here in this action, from the goal kick, just look at the way they're pressing us high. And the key to this, I think, is they've got both their wing-backs covering our full-backs. Goros is up on Zinchenko. You've got the other full-back.
Janelt,
Is that Janelt? Yeah, he's there to press Tomiyasu. And then look, they've gone man-to-man in midfield. You've got their two midfielders there in central midfield covering Odegaard and Trossard. And key here, Declan Rice, who sometimes we play out to in the centre of the defence when the centre-half split, he's being pressed by Norgard. And what they do here, Wissa and Mbeumo, depending on which way Ramsdale goes, they will press. So on this action you showed here, Ramsdale's going to play it to the left. So Mbeumo immediately is pressing Gabriel. Norgard is being pressed by Rice. And Ramsdale then makes the mistake. It all comes from a very high press where they've got three players pressing high. All the lanes are cut off. They've gone man-to-man on their press and they're pressing high from the front. Yeah. They did that really well in the game, James. They pressed, their passes per defensive action, if you said, was 8.5. The third highest Arsenal have faced this season. They were trying to stop us, stop our defenders in build-up, getting the ball quickly through the thirds to our number 8s. And this nearly led to an error. Ramsdale, as you know, in trying to play it's on his left side, it's probably not his stronger side, plays it straight to Mbeumo, and then Mbeumo gets the ball in a really good position. And if it wasn't for Declan Rice getting back on the line, we would have conceded. And that was a clear strategy, which I think Thomas Frank used on Saturday. Yeah,
I agree. It was actually a bit of a masterclass in defending because it wasn't a park the bus job. I sometimes find parking the bus, anyone can still work on that the day before, and then bam, it's basically 2 banks of 4, get really deep, track your runners. What was so brilliant about Thomas Frank and Brentford, I'm going to give them credit, because I've got so much time for Brentford, I've said that before, got a lot of time for Thomas Frank and the way he spoke before and after the game. They're trying to goad him into answers to questions that would get headlines, and he said, look, Arsenal, let them celebrate, let them enjoy it. Very classy guy, but a very, very good manager at a very, very good club that I've got a lot of time for. What he did, he deployed a press to ensure that they could force Arsenal errors and maybe get a goal. But what they also did, and we're moving everyone all the way back, is get into such a deep shape that it was suffocating for Arsenal. Now what we've got here, this is Bukayo Saka on the ball before he crosses it into the box to Gabby Jesus. It's very hard, the players are quite big, but you can see what we're talking about. Now, Jesus, we're just moving back here. Look at the positions of everyone here. Tomiyasu, overlapping fullback. Zinchenko, overlapping fullback. Martinelli, Jesus tucked in. Look at the space of their whole, let's do it in yellow, hopefully you'll see it quite well. Actually, we'll do it in blue. Look at this, look at where their back 5 is. You can't even see it, they're so tight. There's so many players, you can't even see it properly. In fact, let's just do this, make it all a little bit smaller by doing that. Like, they are so tight. Mbemo's dropped to that sort of right of a midfield 4 position, and then they formed a little bit of a midfield 4 in front of the 5 there with Visa up top. It was just so condensed, and while we can be critical of Arsenal on the ball, and I think there is criticism there, Brentford were just so brilliant defensively.
I think they made it really difficult for Arsenal, James. I think the whole of this game it felt like to me, was played out in the Brentford half, and we controlled the game. The narrative, if you look at the numbers, the possession, we had 2/3 of the possession. We completely doubled the passes. We had a lot of touches around their box, double the touches. We had a lot of the field tilt, about 3/4 of the field tilt. All the numbers were really heavily in Arsenal's favour. But we didn't have what I'd call dominant control. Dominant control. We had control, but that was down to the way Brentford defended. So they had what they did was they pressed us high from the front. They stopped our players from passing it efficiently out from the back. And then if we did get it forward, they had a clear shape, as you've demonstrated, to fall back on. And I think they had a very good game plan. They are a very difficult team to beat on their own pitch, as we've said. And
we've got some numbers here. Look, we attempted 54 deep passes, but we only completed 26 of them. We had 7 key passes with only XG assisted of 1.0, pass efficiency of 88.7. But then some of these other stats that you sent through to me: 281 touches, 34 of them in the box, 15 shots with 12 from open play, and the best 3 chances all came from headers. Like that just, you're right, with the Gabriel header that was then chalked off for a foul, the Jesus header and saved by Flecken, and then Trossard's offside, and then ultimately the goal. It felt like it was going to be something aerial. You had to find a way to unpick that lock. And we'll break down how that happened in a second, but there was something about Arsenal where they just hit a wall. And for all the brilliance of Brentford, we were lacking something in terms of 1-2s and combos, in terms of finding it. We had this at the Emirates last year, but Ødegaard and Saka combined to get Saka and beyond, and he crossed it for Trossard to go 1-0 up. We didn't see much of that from Arsenal. They looked a bit flat.
Yeah, as I said,
very flat. Actually.
Well, I think when you're up against this, I think the one thing you need to do when you play out around their press, you've got to move the ball far quicker, James.
Yeah,
if you're not they're back in that shape. The only way you're going to beat that is if you move the ball quicker forward, get your wide players or your number 8s on the ball quicker before they get set back in their shape. You've got a chance then of maybe having those sort of 1-2s combinations that might open them up. But credit to Brentford, they stopped us. They stopped I noticed the numbers of our defenders were pass completion rates and efficiency was really low on Saturday, so they weren't hitting the sort of numbers that they normally hit. But we just weren't getting the ball forward quick enough. No. So by the time we got it forward, they were always set in their shape. And when you're up against a team with a back 5 and a 5-3-2 or a 5-4-1, you're looking for either a piece of magic, or I think you've got to do something different. And we're going to talk about the way Arsenal now have got a plan B in games in the second half. I think the key for me was what ultimately unpicked Brentford. You've got to, I think, move the ball quicker, move it from left to right quicker, find a half space, get your best player, either Ødegaard or Saka, in a position where they can put a cross in. And I think this was a game to beat them from crossing. And because, as you said, our best 3 chances from headers. So that's the way that we were finding ways to at least get attempts at goal. But I think to beat a system like this, I think you have to sort of try and create a half space, because you're going to be blocked off in wide areas. Frank acknowledged on Saturday that Saka and Martinelli were the key to stopping Arsenal. He gave them a lot of praise, so he would have worked hard how to stop them. But bringing Saka inside, getting Ødegaard on the outside, or even a fullback up high so he can come inside, switching it quickly to him, and then him getting in the delivery, and then you can attack it. You need to have runners attacking a good cross. And I think in the end that proved pivotal in the game. But as you say, I mean, I think the reason why we struggled, we had a lot of control in their half, but it wasn't what I call dangerous control.
No,
and they were very comfortable defending against us for most of the game.
You've alluded to a plan B there. And I really want to, I spent a lot of time thinking about this, because I think Arsenal have a plan B. I just don't think it's in the way we would have expected, and I don't think it's the way people think. Now, I think people will look at Kai Havertz coming on, and go, well, there's a plan B option there. £65 million player played mainly in midfield, but maybe we can get something else out of him as that kind of plan B option in the meantime. And look, there's some evidence for that. Let me go through some of it. You sent me a stats from a 16-minute cameo, and it looked good. Yeah, 11 touches, 5 completed, a tackle 1, a ground duel 1, but the big thing, he got the goal. Now, I had a little look at this. He's had a little impact on the bench. This isn't the first time he's come on and made a bit of a difference. Now, it's maybe not always looked as obvious in terms of an 89th minute winner at the back post that he got, but you look against Man City, it was 0-0 before he came on. He comes on, gets the assist for Martinelli. Okay, it's a layoff. Okay, there's a deflection. I understand people aren't going to go crazy on the praise for that. But he did well in that game. He came on, started running the channels, holding the ball up, and gave us a different dynamic up top in that game to what we were getting from Eddie Nketiah. Against Chelsea, with 2-1 down, he comes on 2-2. Is he massively involved? Well, again, he plays the ball out to Saka for that cross. We're going to look at that goal in a sec. But the big thing is, we were starting to go long, because at least he was a presence, at least he was a handful for defenders. And then against Brentford, as we've talked about, he comes on and scores. Now, I want to show, if I just get them here, Saka's crossing in the game. Now, if we have a little look at this, let's try and annotate it if we can. I'll do it in white. There we go. Now, if you look at where some of Saka's passes are, very few actual crosses are sort of swung in. This is the first half, from minute 0 to 45. Big up Stat Zone. I love these kind of pass maps. This is his attacking play in the first half. Lots of short passes, not doing much in this area of the pitch here. And then look at the direction of his crosses, as you can see there. Sort of one, or a pass back there. That was I think the cross to Jesus. I think that was. Not a lot hitting a certain area too directly into the box. But then you look at his second half. He gets a lot of them wrong. You can see a lot of the red there. But look how many go into. If I just get this up again. Go into this zone here, a lot closer to goal, better to attack. Some of them come from crosses, but again, doing a lot more in this area of the pitch. Saka, this is in the second half. Then we go to Martinelli's, where it's a little bit more obvious. Again, a lot of backwards passes from Martinelli. You can see that cluster. My, this is such a big table, isn't it? A big TV. You can see a big cluster there. Not much going into the box, but then look at it, and again, I'll show it in white. Look at that second half there. How many more? We're just so much more direct into the box, looking to find players. Look how many are targeted at that back post there. One there to the back post, a couple a little bit more central. I think the plan B for Arsenal is not just going, great, stick on Havertz because he's 6'4", we can aim for him. I think the plan B is more, can you find that back post, because it's incredibly difficult to defend. In the first half, Martinelli and Saka not looking for it as much, maybe looking for more combinations, maybe looking more patient, but as you get to that final 20-25 minutes, can you start to up it? When that ball goes into that back post, it is so difficult to defend, because defenders are sort of running back, and at best they think, let me just flick it on, but if you're flicking it on, you're winning a corner. And I think what Arteta recognised is that someone needed to attack that space. Because I saw Martinelli whip it to the back post, and both, I think it was Jesus, Ødegaard, Saka all kind of stood there and went, what, I'm meant to get on the end of that. And then Saka did another one, and Martinelli did the same thing. Stopped and went, am I meant to get on the end of that? So he recognises the option off the bench is Kai Havertz. He's not the only one who recognised it. We were on the watch along saying, this could be a moment for Kai Havertz. Now, why could it be? Well, in 2022-23, his Premier League rank, Kai Havertz, amongst all players in the league, was second for total runs, third for targeted runs, second for runs into the box, second for targeted runs into the box, and second for distance covered. So what you got is a player who is ready-made to come on and do exactly this. Havertz goal. And I was so happy for him. Let's make these a touch bigger. Apologies, everyone. There we go. He is here. He's got a run on Ghoddos. But what he does is he makes the run behind, because Bukayo Saka has hit that very spot here that we have talked about. No one else was making these runs until Havertz. And Saka whips into the back post. And there is Kai Havertz. And we're 1-0 up. But the key thing is here, that it's not just about Kai Havertz being 6'4", so you can do it. The key is the quality of the cross, but the type of cross. That kind of whipped ball to the back post that is so difficult to defend, because like I said, you might win a corner, you might win something. He might even flick it on, and Eddie is there waiting, because Eddie, rather than attack the same spot, has recognised that he might get on the end of something from Kai Havertz here. So then I go on to this, because we've seen it before this season. That's not it. What are we looking for?
Chelsea.
Trossard goal at Chelsea. That's from last week, or when we beat Burnley. Here we are. Saka, not quite as wide, but a little bit more central. But this time it's Trossard on the end of it. That's why I say it's about the quality of the cross and not just the person on the end of it. Because when you also watch Havertz and Nketiah's movements, they come in thinking that at least if Trossard cuts this back, they are there for it. But it's the quality of the ball, once again, from Bukayo Saka. He is nailing that, and it's his signature thing, and we get another equaliser. Now, Havertz has been a plan B. He has been an option off the bench that has given Arsenal a different dynamic. But for me, the plan B is hitting those back posts and basically saying to the defenders of the opposition, how much can you sustain our attacks? How many set pieces can you defend? How many times can you track that runner behind your shoulder? How many times can you deal with it? And on a few occasions, Arsenal have managed to unpick the lock by doing just that.
Yeah, I think it's a great weapon to have. I think we've seen us utilise Saka in the half space. I think he's really good in the half space. You talked about Martinelli. I think he offers a slightly different dynamic and more direct run and across, whereas Saka is more precise with whipped or curled crosses in. And I think this is a good weapon we can have. I think, coming back to your point about the way we play in the first half of games, I think, and this to me is a weapon later in the game when defenders are more tired, not just physically but mentally. And so if you're playing in balls like this, you switch off for a quick second. We saw it with Gusto in the Chelsea game where he let Trossard run off him. Defenders late in games are more mentally tired as well as physically, so you can have a bit more joy out of that. I think what we try to do in the first half in build-up, we try to play our football. We try and play those 1-2 touch combinations that you talk about. And we try and play our way through teams. Yeah, that is a clear plan at the start of games. And I think what we then go to, if we have no joy in that, we got this that we can go to later in the game. It's all, as you said, it's almost like a plan B. Yeah. To get Saka inside in a half space to deliver a cross, or to get Martinelli, instead of running at defenders, getting crosses in to deep positions and getting our players to attack those areas, either from the back stick, from the right hand side, from the left, where you can get 3 players running in, or from the right. So it's a definite plan. I think you need players who've got skill, can deliver it. Saka has got that ability. I think Odegaard, I'd like to see him do more of that actually. What we tend to do on that right hand side, sometimes we feed it out to the left more and keep the play going, whereas sometimes I think we should be looking players to sort of run into the box and Odegaard to deliver a cross into the box more than what I see, instead of just keeping the play going. I think it boils down to the way Arteta wants to play, James. First half, he wants that control, he wants control build up, he wants us to try and play through teams, but if we can't do that, this is a good option to have. Yeah, completely agreed. Now let's give some praise to some of the other players that were out on that pitch, because they absolutely deserve it. Even though Arsenal weren't their scintillating best, some really stepped up to the fight. One of them, Alexander Zinchenko, he sent his numbers, 79 passes attempted, ranked him first in the match, 8 final third entries first, 8 progressive passes first, and 5 box entries. We've got more Zinchenko stats with 2 key passes, 2 progressive carries, a shot, 5 ball recoveries, which just lends into the defensive improvement he's had this season, which is fantastic. 2 aerial duels won, 2 interceptions, a tackle and a goal line clearance. I thought Zinchenko was brilliant. Yeah, I think he was absolutely great on the day. And I think this season, since he's come in, the last 2 games, he's been back to the old Zinchenko, the player that we had. I think he's such an important player for Arsenal. I agree. Because the way we play, I think, he offers so much in the way Arteta wants to build. So when he's playing well, the team is, you could argue, playing well. And I think he's come back in the last 2 games. He's looked back to his old self. His numbers defensively have increased. He's offering a lot more going forward. Where he can play in the middle of the pitch. He can go out wide. And I think in this game, give him credit, because when he made that mistake, His focus was to get back and defend, and he made a brilliant clearance off the line.
Yeah.
I think his numbers reflect a really fine performance.
Completely agree. Declan Rice, amazing again. Can we go 1 week without talking about Declan Rice? And by the way, I don't want that. Declan, keep this up, please. I love talking about Declan Rice every week. I've never known a £100 million player to look a bargain. We should have paid 3 times more. Look, he's been immense. Again, some numbers, 89% pass accuracy. People say he's not as good on the ball as other DMs. You're not seeing that in some of his numbers, but just with the eye test as well. 5 final third entries, and that's a big thing. Even as a 6, he is happy to drive with the ball. When we need a goal, he'll go, yes, I know there's all that space I might leave him behind, but I know I'm not going to lose it, and I know I'm strong enough to protect it and get us into forward areas and get back and cover if I need. 4 times he won possession back, 3 out of 4 duels won, 2 clearances, 2 interceptions, a key pass, and another goal line clearance. So 2 man of the matches all pulled out a goal line clearance. Not that we want to see a lot of them, but fair play, they have stepped up and delivered them. Yeah, just another fine performance for the player that I believe is the leader of the team. Now, I'm not saying Odegaard's not a leader. He's fantastic and he's been brilliant captain. I think vocally and what he does for the team is brilliant. But Rice, I think in terms of performative presence, is the leader in that team, if that
He
makes
leads
sense.
by the way he plays on the pitch, James.
Yeah.
I thought Saturday was a complete midfield performance. I think we're running out of superlatives to say about this guy. Since he's come to the club, he's sort of like, he offers so much. You know, he's there in the build-up. His progressive, his ability with his progressive carries to carry the ball. You said that's another strength he's got. I just think he's the way he gets the team playing. He leads by example on that pitch, and I think since he's come in, rightly, I think he's been man of the match at least 5 of the games this year. You know, and every performance is an 8, 9 out of 10. I can't think of a bad performance he's had this season, James.
No, completely. I can't think of one bad performance.
No.
I think he's brilliant. I think he's world class. I've said it a million times, and I'll keep saying it till people believe me. Only West Ham fans believe us right now, and I get it. Obviously, this was a milestone. Arteta's 200 games at Arsenal with a win percentage of 58%, better than Wenger and Graham's. 116 wins to Wenger's 111 and George Graham's 107. More defeats than the other 2 in there. But you wanted to add context to that as well. And let me just read some of the other notes. That between the first 100 games and second 100 games, Arsenal have turned more potential draws into wins, which has got that win rate percentage right up. I think when you look at the run in the league last season as well, that would have really added a lot. Played Europa League football to a degree, but what's the context you want to add to the fact that while this looks very impressive, that graphic we're showing there, there's context to it, and it's not to diminish Arteta, it's just to remember how great the others were as well.
Yeah, I mean the context is, of course, is that you allude to there is that Arsene Wenger and George Graham have won league titles in their first 200 games, which is something that we really should add that context to. I mean, Arsene Wenger won a double in 1997-98, and George Graham won the league title in 1989 and again in 1991. So, and certainly by 89, that was within his first 200 games. So there is some context there. Arteta has got a better record than those 2 managers, but he hasn't won a league title. He has won an FA Cup, of course, but he hasn't won a league title. I think what he's done since he's come in at Arsenal is that we talk about context now in his favour, is that he's changed a lot of the things about the club, the way we attack and the way we defend, which he had to do to make us get us back to the levels we want to be to challenge for the title again. You know, we're having more shots at goal now than we ever had since he took over. Something like every 15 actions leads to a shot at goal now. We didn't have that before. He's improved the passes per defensive action, our intensity off the ball. You know, we're talking about levels of it's always low now, which means that we have less shots at our goal. And what he's also done is he's recruited really well through the spine of the team. Defensively, improved it with Saliba, Gabriel, Rice, Partey. So we're very strong defensively. The recruitment's been good. But just one final thing he's done, he's tapped into the talent, the youth at the club, and he's developed that. So here's a question for you then, James. Which young player is his only young player left at the club from his very first 11 that he put out at Bournemouth on Boxing Day 2019? There's only one player left from that 11 that played at Bournemouth.
In the squad?
No, in the team. In the team now.
Well, Nelson started on the right. Did Saka start left back?
Saka started left back. Saka, I think, is the only player I think left at the club actually who played in his very first game.
I think Nelson as well. I think Nelson was there. Started on the right against Bournemouth, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, you might.
But there you go.
You might be right.
But look,
let us know in the comments.
It's the youth that are hanging around, which is great,
Yeah.
and you know, Helen.
In terms, then, I would say of his strongest 11. Then,
Yeah.
the 11 that starts, the 11 he now puts out regularly.
Yeah.
Saka is the only one really left from that 11. You might be right on the Nelson thing. I'll have to check that out.
We'll have a little look. Listen, we've come a long way, and we're now top of the league again. Hit us with the roundup stats to end it all. But what a big win. Arsenal top of the league, and that's all we want at the end of a weekend.
Okay, James. Right, the closing stats for this week, James. Following Kai Havertz's 89th minute winner, Arsenal now had 10 goals scored by substitutes in all competitions, the joint most of any Premier League side this season.
Nice, good on.
Brighton
good on
are the only other team who've done it. They've got 10. Bukayo Saka, listen to this, I love this stat, James. Bukayo Saka, who created the assist for Havertz, is the only player in the Premier League in 2023 to have created 50-plus chances, completed 50-plus take-ons, scored 10 goals and provided 10 assists. Our star boy can really do it all.
Output machine as well.
Yeah, we had said at times he might not be having his best of season, but look at those numbers.
Yeah, agreed.
And just we've been praising Brentford today, and rightly so. Since the start of last season, Brentford have lost only twice at home to teams who are classed as Big Six teams, and both times it was to Arsenal.
There you go.
But I'll end with this one, James, because have we or have we not seen Aaron Ramsdale's last Premier League game for Arsenal? Unless Raya gets injured, I think we may have. But here's one, the stat to end with. Clean sheets at the G-Tech Community Stadium in the 2023-24 season. Brentford 1, Aaron Ramsdale 2.
Love that. And by the way, I said it before, I do think we've seen him for the last time in the league for Arsenal. Very sad, but listen, we'll keep up to date on all that, and we'll keep you up to date on AFTV with everything that happens transfer related. We're approaching January, but we're approaching a very busy Christmas period. Lots of tactical insights to come, lots of games to come. We'll be back on Thursday with another tactical after the Lons game, of course, and then we're back for Wolves next week as well. Big thanks to Graham, fantastic as always. Big thanks to all of you. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, and please subscribe to the channel because it's your chance to be notified when we do upload videos. We're uploading a lot of content, keep you up to date with everything that's going on AFTV. And there's more. Download the AFTV Plus app. That's where you can join us on Fanzone. We run it minimum twice a week, so fans from all around the world can join us to have their say. And on the app or the AFTV store, if you want to look up on a laptop, you can find AFTV merch. Support your club in a different way. It's your way to wear the Arsenal, but maybe you don't want to always wear the shirt. I like to wear the shirt. I like to wear all of it. Guys, join us very soon. Thank you very much. Catch you in a bit.